Hudson, Florida, a quiet census-designated place at the westernmost end of Pasco County, forms part of the bustling Tampa-St Petersburg-Clearwater Metropolitan Statistical area. Known for its serene neighborhoods and close-knit community, Hudson was thrust into the national spotlight with a tragic and chilling incident that shattered its peaceful facade. Reign Mancini, Phillip Zilliot II, and their two children, Karma and Phillip III, vanished on June 12th in Pasco County, Florida. The young family had been living in a rental property owned by Rory Atwood, who now faces grave accusations. On June 14th, a series of events set the stage for a harrowing discovery and the unfolding of a tragic story. The last sighting of the family was in the Nottingham Trl area of Hudson, Florida, in the early hours of June 12th. Just 2 days later, concerned relatives contacted the police, leading to a welfare check. Mancini's mother, alarmed by the absence of her daughter from their daily communication routine, pushed for this intervention. Initial visits by officers to Atwood's home, where the family had been living, revealed nothing unusual. However, a pivotal revelation came when a woman informed the police that her brother had seen something disturbing during a FaceTime call with Atwood. Atwood, in a state of distress, had asked for help to burn what he claimed was garbage. But during the call, the man saw what appeared to be adult and child bodies. Despite this alarming report, the initial police search yielded no findings. The narrative took a darker turn when a friend of Atwood, Brian Burpee, reported a chilling admission. Atwood had confided in him, saying he had killed his roommates and their children. This prompted a second, more thorough search of the property with cadaver dogs. This time, officers uncovered small skeletal remains, human bone fragments, and vertebrae in a fire pit. The remains were charred beyond recognition. Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nocco, addressing the media, expressed the difficulty of confirming the identities of the remains without the medical examiner's final confirmation. However, the evidence was strong enough to charge Atwood with first-degree murder. Atwood's account of the events leading to the deaths portrayed a volatile situation escalating out of control. He claimed the family had been evicted on June 1st for failing to pay rent, but returned unexpectedly on June 12th, leading to a confrontation. According to Atwood, the parents entered his bedroom with knives, resulting in a violent struggle involving a gun. Atwood asserted that he used his adrenaline to drag the bodies to the fire pit. During his police interview, he provided a detailed, albeit conflicting, narrative. Atwood recounted that Zilliot II and Mancini had stormed into his home with knives, and in the ensuing chaos, they were shot multiple times. He claimed the parents might have killed their own children, but he later backtracked, acknowledging the children's bodies were in the fire pit. A friend of Atwood corroborated some elements of the confrontation, mentioning a heated argument the night of June 12th, which involved drinking and a past incident where a gun was pulled. This friend's statement added a layer of complexity to the timeline of events. Atwood, a father himself, had allowed investigators to search his property during the initial welfare check. They noted the fire pit was actively smoldering, but found nothing suspicious at that time. The following day, the friend's revelation about Atwood's confession to the killings led to the second search and the grisly discovery. Despite the mounting evidence, Atwood pleaded not guilty and was held without bond. The community grappled with the horrifying implications of the crime. Neighbors and acquaintances were stunned by the brutality and the apparent lack of warning signs. Atwood's story, full of inconsistencies and self-serving details, failed to provide a clear picture of what truly happened. The legal proceedings against Atwood hinged on piecing together the fragments of a violent night and the subsequent attempts to conceal the crime. The investigation faced challenges, particularly in definitively identifying the remains. The medical examiner's role became crucial in confirming the identities of the victims and determining the exact cause of death. As the investigation progressed, more details emerged about the family's last known activities. Mancini-Zilliot II and their children were last seen in Hudson around midnight on June 12th. Their lives, full of potential and familial love, were abruptly and violently cut short. The community mourned their loss, holding vigils and expressing their grief and support for the surviving relatives. Atwood's defense attempted to paint a picture of self-defense gone wrong. His account of the parents attacking him and his subsequent actions to protect himself and his child was scrutinized. However, the presence of the children's bodies in the fire pit and the inconsistencies in his story weakened his claims. Sheriff Nako's statements during press conferences highlighted the meticulous efforts of law enforcement to uncover the truth. The use of human remain dogs, bloodhounds, and aviation units underscored the seriousness of the investigation. The discovery of human remains, along with several admissions from Atwood, was pivotal in building the case against him. Atwood's admission of evicting the family on June 1st added another layer of complexity. If the eviction had occurred, why did the family return on June 12? And why did the confrontation escalate to such a fatal extent? These questions loomed large as investigators continued to piece together the timeline and motives. As the case moved toward trial, the community's focus shifted to seeking justice for the victims. The legal process promised to be lengthy, with both the prosecution and defense preparing for a contentious battle. The prosecution aimed to establish a clear narrative of premeditated murder, while the defense sought to cast doubt on the motives and actions attributed to Atwood. In the aftermath of the tragedy, the community of Hudson struggled to reconcile the heinous crime with their perceptions of the individuals involved. The Young family's vibrant lives, cruelly extinguished, left a void that could never be filled. The case became a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the dark potential for violence lurking beneath seemingly ordinary interactions. Rain Mancini, Phillip Zilliot II, Karma, and Phillip III were remembered by their loved ones not for the horrific way they died, but for the joy and love they brought into the world. As the legal proceedings unfolded, the hope for justice became intertwined with the community's collective grief and desire for closure. The tragic story of Rain Mancini, Phillip Zilliot II, and their children in Hudson, Florida, is a devastating reminder of the potential for unimaginable violence within a community. Hudson, known for its serene neighborhoods and close-knit community, was abruptly thrust into national attention with this horrific incident. The peaceful facade of this quiet town was shattered by the chilling events of June 12th, when the Young family vanished, leading to the discovery of their charred remains. The alleged actions of Rory Atwood, the family's landlord, paint a grim picture of escalating tensions and tragic consequences. Atwood's conflicting accounts and the gruesome evidence found on his property highlight a narrative fraught with violence and attempted cover-up. The initial failure to find anything amiss during the welfare check underscores the often hidden nature of such crimes and the challenges law enforcement faces in uncovering the truth. As the community grapples with the brutal loss, the focus shifts to seeking justice for the victims. The legal proceedings against Atwood will likely be lengthy and contentious, but the hope for justice remains a beacon for the grieving relatives and neighbors. This tragedy underscores the fragility of life and the latent potential for violence in everyday interactions. It serves as a stark reminder of the need for vigilance and community support in preventing and addressing such horrific events. The memory of Rain, Phillip, Karma, and Phillip III should be honored by ensuring their story leads to meaningful change and justice.